everyone, respected CEO sir, respected ma'am, and my dear staff members. A very warm welcome to this presentation on New Education Policy 2020. First of all, I'm thankful to CEO sir and Principal ma'am for providing us this opportunity to learn so much about the new education policy. To be very frank, had it not been a presentation, I think we wouldn't have done so much homework on it. So, with sir's permission, I'll be starting this presentation. I'm starting this presentation. All right. So, since we are talking about, yes, sir. Since we are talking about the national education policy, so I would just like to give you a short introduction of what actually education is. So, what is education? Education, as per the Oxford Dictionary, it says an enlightening experience. In this process, the student actually comes to know how much he or she is capable is. Children not only learn, but they learn how to learn. And had it been only about learning, so the student would have sat at home and mucked up the things and written the question paper. But when it comes to school and when it comes to a teacher, students actually are shown the path of learning. So they exactly know how to learn the things and what has to be learned in the best possible manner. So this is what an education is. Next, as we are talking about NEPs, so NEP, it is actually a part of the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit, which had taken place in the year 2015 on 25th and 27th of September. UNDP, it works in 170 countries and territories, and it helps to achieve equality and reduce inequality. Now they work on a few aspects, such as they work on ending up hunger, ending up poverty. They ensure healthy lives, quality education, gender equality, availability and sustainability of water, and availability of energy as well. And they have been working many such aspects which result in the development of the society, the nation, and overall the development of the whole world, all the countries in the world. Now, why this new summit has taken place? It is to bridge the gap between the current state of learning and the required reforms that bring highest quality, equity, and integrity into the system of early childhood care and education through higher education. Now, this development summit, in this summit, the members of states, they had formally adopted the 2030 agenda for sustainable development in New York, and their agenda had 17 goals, and which included the new global education goal, that is SDG 4. Now, respected sir, I would like to bring to your notice that in India, a major development since the last policy of 1986 and 92 has been the right of children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009, which gave a free and compulsory education to children up to from age 6 to 14 years. Whereas since NEP will be implemented, so the new right to education for free education will be for age group from 4 to 18 years. Now, Sustainable Development Goal, as we have already discussed, SDG 4, now they ensure that inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, and they have 7 targets and 3 means of implementation. Now, why these goals were set? These goals were set after the consultative process led by member states and participation from civil society, teachers, unions, bilateral agencies, regional organizations, the private sector, and research institute and foundation. After consulting so many people, these development goals were set up. So I would like to show you a few glimpses of NEP 2020. The first one is by 2030, 2030, one large multidisciplinary college in every district. Now, what is the meaning of multidisciplinary? Multidisciplinary means it will be a common college which will provide a platform to all the children, regardless of arts background, regardless of commerce background, regardless of science background, which means all the infrastructure, the facilities, and whatever the student needs to excel in a subject, those colleges will be set up in each and every district by 2030. The second one is MPhil to be discontinued, but no such further guidelines have been issued yet, so we are still waiting for the further instructions. Number three is Sanskrit will be mainstream. So India, as per national education policy, India has understood the value of Sanskrit. It has seen, the nation has seen that throughout the world, the countries are adopting Sanskrit. They are taking Sanskrit in their assemblies as well. We have seen many videos in the past on many social media platforms where the countries, they have started chanting Sanskrit, where the countries, they are chanting Sanskrit mantras in the schools. So keeping the things in mind, national education policy, they have also taken Sanskrit as a mainstream language. Next is the vocational skills to be taught. So the national education policy, they do not focus on the mugging up. They do not just focus on understanding the chapter and learning the question and answers and scoring highest marks. They mainly focus on the vocational skills, which means the overall and the holistic development of a child, which will be also a plus point in his personality development. The next one is there will be no rigid separation between arts and science curriculum. Earlier, the pattern was if a child goes for an art stream or a commerce stream, he or she cannot divert the subjects to another stream. But since the new education policy will be implemented, a student would be easily able to choose the subjects which interest him or her. I mean, it won't affect whether he's from arts background or from commerce background. Different set of subjects can be chosen by the student. Next, we have internships will be included from class 6. As sir has been giving us about this topic in the past, he has been speaking about this. So internships have been allowed from class 6 itself, which means a student in whichever stream he or she interests, he or she can take the internship program and will be counted as a part of his achievement. And for the same, academic bank of credit, which in short terms as ABC, academic bank of credit will also be established so that whenever a child goes for these internship programs, or if a child discontinues the studies due to any reason, and if he or she plans to resume the studies, so whatever marks a child has scored during his education time, those marks and those qualifications can be stored in the education, in the academic bank of credit. So that will be a form of a bank where it will be in a form of a digital bank where a student's credit score will be saved, and later on whenever a child decides to resume the studies, those credit scores will be calculated in his qualifications. Next is the importance to practical assignments and skill development. As we have already started following in the session 2019 and 20 and 2021, we have been focusing more on learning by doing process rather than just teaching. We are focusing on learning by doing. So the national education policy also focuses on the same. Next is single common entrance exam for all colleges. Although this won't be a compulsory one, a child will be free to choose whether he wants to go for this compulsory education exam or not. The next one is foreign colleges can set up colleges in India. The children who do not have the opportunity or who do not have the resources to move out of the country for their further studies, for their masters or for their doctorates, can easily avail these facilities in India itself, as we will be warmly welcoming the colleges from abroad to set up their branches in India. Next is expenditure on education. The GDP, earlier it was decided that 3% of the GDP will be spent on education. But now, as per the new education policy, the expenditure will be increased to 3%, which will be, now we will be spending 6% on our education. Now, a major change that will be affecting all of us, especially when we talk about Shomila International School, will be transforming curricular and pedagogical structure. Earlier, the structure was a 10+2 one. but now it has been revised and the new structure is of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So I'll just give a brief details of what these are. The first level is of 5 years, which will have two divisions, a 3 plus 2 1, 3 years for Anganwadi and pre-primary stages, and 2 years for age group 6 to 8 will be for class 1 and 2. Now they will mostly focus on learning by playing, and they will have activity-based learning sessions. The next we have is a 3-year program for age group 8 to 11, and for classes 3 to 5. This will be called as a preparatory stage. And here at this stage, the students will discover by doing the things. They will actually get to know what their potentials are and which way they should go. The next is the middle stage, which is for age group 11 to 14 and for classes 6 to 8. Now this will be an experimental learning. Children might fail, children might pass. It will be all about experiments. And those experiments will be in sciences, mathematics, arts, social science, and humanities. The next we have is the secondary stage, which is of 4 years for class 9 to 12 and age group 14 to 18. Now, at this stage, the students will have multidisciplinary platforms to choose which way they want to go and what options they want to choose as their career choices. So according to my study, what I found are the plus points of NEP 2020. Now, importance to ECCE, that is Early Childhood Care and Education. As CEO sir has already discussed in the past that till now, no as such specific curriculum was designed for Anganwadi and pre-primary students. But from now on, there will be a proper set of curriculum, and this has been done in order to provide a link between Anganwadi and pre-primary students, so that whenever a student goes into an Anganwadi from a pre-primary or other way around, a student will be able to have the same backgrounds which are needed for its further development. So this is a plus point. Second one is promotion of online education. In pandemic like these, the government has also realized that online education must be promoted, and it is the only way out whenever it comes to learning from home. Next, there will be exams for classes 3, 5 and 8 only. The rest of the classes, the authorities and the school management will have the right to decide which way they want to assess the students. Next is a 4-year B.Ed course will be recognized as a minimum degree by 2030. Till now, we had a 2-year B.Ed course, but now from the new education policy, when the new education policy will be implemented, we'll have a 4-year B.Ed course. And board exams for class 10th and 12 will be as usual, but they will be less pressurized, there will be less stakes, and more on the holistic and the overall development of a child will be focused. Next, we have Bal Bhavans. Bal Bhavans are basically hostels where multidisciplinary platforms will be provided to the children, whether it comes to arts, whether it comes to commerce, whether it comes to science. So Bal Bhavans will be a form of hostel for the students with multidisciplinary chances to develop themselves. The next plus point which I found was a National Professional Standard for Teachers, that is NPST. It will be formulated by the National Council for Teachers Education. As we have already discussed, B.Ed will be for 4 years. Same, not just same, a few more implementations will be done for teachers upgradation. The next is, as we have discussed, that pre-primary and Anganwadi students will have a basic curriculum. So NCERT has been given the task to design the curriculum up to the age of 8 years of a child. Next is MERU, that is Multidisciplinary Education and Research University. As we have already discussed, multidisciplinary areas, multidisciplinary colleges will be set up in the districts, which will provide a holistic development and equal opportunity to the child, whether he's in a small district or a bigger one. Next is Parak. Now Parak, it is an online application for the teachers especially, where teachers will be able to share their knowledge and they will be able to help each other when in need. So it will be basically a platform for the teachers to share what they know and what they don't know. Next, the biggest plus point which I found was coding for children. In India, coding starts generally after class 12, when they especially go for colleges, or when they especially opt for doing any computer application diploma. But from now, since class 6, they can start with the coding methods. And the best one for the children is bagless days and informal internships. When we were young, we used to have the internship programs. We had to carry luggages with us. We had to carry many documents, books, and we had to do a lot of homework at home. But now, since we are focusing more on practical implementation, therefore, there will be bagless internships where the student will be mostly focused on the practical doing of the things, and they will do the things themselves. The next, I'll be focusing on a few cons according to my study, a few drawbacks of NEP to 2020. The first is the language, which I found the biggest drawback of NEP 2020. The government has said that up to the age of class 5, a school has the right to choose in which regional language they want to convey their lessons. But to support my notion, I have an example of three people. The first one is, her name is Krinshika Bhattacharya. She's from Mumbai and her child studies in class 2. Now she says that my mother tongue is Bengali, whereas the regional language in Mumbai is Marathi. So I still do not know which language the school will adopt to deliver the lessons to my child, which will be a problem for all of us. The second is Jessie Joseph. She's from Kerala. Her child studies in class 5. Now she says that when I was young, up to class 4, she was taught in Malayalam. But when she entered in class 5, suddenly she was taught the ABCs of English. And till date, she faces the problem of accepting and implementing English language. So when history proves itself that adopting English after a certain age becomes difficult for a person to become used to, or it becomes difficult for a person to be in the comfort zone, then I think we should not go for this policy. The second one is the increasingly disparity between sections of society. Now, as languages will be different, the means of communication will be different, and the mode of teaching will be different. The difference which lies in the society, in the higher and the lower society, will keep on increasing when the mode of communication will change. Next is your 4-year graduation program. My point is, when a child goes for a diploma, whether it's for 2 years or a year, the value of diploma degree and the value of a graduation degree will be same. Then why would a child go for a 4-year graduation program rather than going for a 2-year diploma program? So these are the 3 loopholes which I found in NEP 2020. Next, I'll be discussing about my topic, which is proficiency in language versus personality development. Now, personality first is the way we behave. A pleasant personality is always respected and appreciated by all, and we all know that a person will not be taken seriously until and unless he or she masters in the art of English language and make the communication skill smarter, better, and faster. The next is English plays a vital role in India because India is a multilingual language. So it actually acts as a link language between the different languages. Next is the people who have excellent command over English language, they have a different stamp on their personality and they always outstand the crowd. Next, the style of speaking, the way we speak, it should be slow and with a humble attitude, and it helps to appreciate. It helps to appreciate oneself, and it also helps to choose appropriate words and also reflect our thoughtfulness. So I have basically followed 2 traits of attractive personality. One is cow and the other one is wow. I know they sound quite funny. The first one is cow, which means the choice of words. Whenever we speak to someone, the perfect choice of words is the perfect way to express oneself. If you choose the words wrongly, you are mostly misunderstood and misinterpreted. So whenever we speak with someone, we should have the correct choice of words. Next is the wow. When it comes to war of words, when it comes to arguments, when it comes to discussion, or when it comes to heated debates, we should choose the words we should end the discussion, which should end the debate, and not the relationships. So these are the two traits of attractive personality. The first one is cow, and the second one is wow. Now, when it comes to personality development in the classroom, I have jotted a few points which I would like to bring to your kind notice. The first one is the change of the thought process. As sir and ma'am have already told us, the first thing which needs to be changed to change the personality is the way we think. A child should be able to understand what is the importance of a good personality and how he or she will be benefit of a good personality and what will be the losses of having a not so attractive personality. Next is, in order to have a command over English language, a child should start thinking in English. As we had discussed day before yesterday, the normal policy which is followed by people is they think in English, they think in Hindi, they translate into English, and then they try to express it into English language. In that process, they fall short of words, and in that process takes a lot of time, which doesn't make the conversation very attractive. So a child should start thinking in English. The next one is the correct way to carry oneself. Whenever we talk about the overall personality, it's not just about speaking, it's not about how you look, but how you carry a good personality as well. Even if you look ugly, even if you do not speak very good English, your personality speaks for you a lot. So one should have a very good way to carry oneself. Next is not paying heed to negativity. Whenever a child tries to speak in English, at the early stages, the peer pressure is too much, and they mostly lack when it comes to expressing themselves because they have a fear of being judged by other people. So a child should not pay importance to negative energies, but instead the child should take the positive energy which is around him or her and should try to adopt those in its personality. Next one is role plays to work on how to handle difficult situations. Whenever it comes to difficult situation, a child always gets nervous on how to express him or her whenever it comes to assembly speeches or whenever it comes to role plays in the class. So to handle those situations and to improve the confidence level of a child, we should have role plays in the class to give them a little idea, a slight idea of how they should present themselves when it comes to difficult situations like any of those. Next is jotting down in a gratitude book. Now, what is a gratitude book? A gratitude book is a book of positivity. Gratitude means thankfulness. Whenever a child writes a gratitude book, he or she always tries to look for a positive energy around it, whether it comes to positivity of nature, whether it comes to appreciation by parents, or whether it comes to appreciation by teacher, or whether a beautiful compliment by the peers. So a child should start writing a gratitude book so that the child would attract positive energy and in return would also, as we all know, whenever they'll be acting anything, whenever they'll be performing anything, that will automatically improve their motor skills and their reaction powers also, reflexive actions also. Next is active listening. Whenever the instructions are given to a child and whenever it comes to playing the games, a child actively listens to what the instructions are being given so that he'll be able to perform in the best possible manner, which in turn will improve their active listening power. Next is cognitive skills. As we all know, activities always focus on the development of the cognitive skills. Next is problem solving. Whenever a child will end up in argument during an activity, he or she will look for the opportunity to solve the problem as soon as possible and resume the game so that he or she or his or her group would be able to score the best possible outcome. The next is time management. Of course, when the children are given a time limit, they'll be able to work on the time management part in a best possible manner. Management skills, as we all know, as we have discussed, whenever it will come to working with the peers, they will try to keep themselves calm so that the best possible outputs could be attained. Communication skills, a child would learn how to communicate even in the tense situations. He or she will avoid using foul words which they use at home. So even in the tense situations, we can teach a child how to improve their communication skills and how they can communicate with their peers so that all of them can work together in a team and give out the best possible outcomes. Now, personality also calls for etiquettes. Now, I have just jotted down 4 etiquettes here, which cover the day-to-day life of a child and which we feel should be focused on ASAP. The first one is classroom etiquettes. A child should know how to sit in the class, and whenever he or she faces any problem, how should he express and when should he express. So a child should definitely teach the classroom etiquettes. He should be taught that he needs to take care of the class as he takes care of his house. A classroom should be neat and clean as the child keeps his house and room clean. So these are the classroom etiquettes. The second one comes to phone etiquettes. As a teacher, I sometimes feel very disobeyed whenever a child calls me and suddenly keeps on explaining his problem instead of wishing me even once. So a child should be taught whenever you call someone or whenever you receive a call, how should you start and what should you say at the first point. So this is how phone etiquettes from very early childhood should be developed. Next is greeting etiquettes. We have been facing that in this modern era, the students and the children have forgotten how to respect their elders, or whenever a family member visits home or whenever a guest visits home. So they should be taught how to greet one. Greeting always plays a very important role in the development of the personality and how they put out themselves. The overall attractiveness of the personality is by the greeting. Next are the table etiquette. Since our students sit in the class and have their lunch in the classroom itself, so we can teach them the basic etiquettes of table, the basic table manners, how to hold the spoon, when to use the fork and how to hold the fork, when to use a knife, when to use a paper napkin and when to use a towel. So, and when to wash the hands, how to wash the hands so that the drops of the water don't fall here and there. So these are the basic table manners, how to drink the water, when to ask to drink to water. So these are the basic table etiquettes which we can teach a child in the classroom itself. We are not talking about the home. We are talking about the role of a teacher in the classroom and how a teacher can teach the child these basic etiquettes in the classroom itself. So I'll just sum up my presentation. Um, Now, the aim of the education in ancient India was not just the acquisition of knowledge to prepare for the life in the world or to prepare for the after school life, but their main motive was the complete realization and liberation of oneself. Now, these changes, though, that we have discussed through education, through National Education Policy 2020, will come into effect. But the question is when. They will come into effect after the Ministry of Human Resource Department, that is MHRD, will be titled as Ministry of Education. And it has been predicted that these changes will take place in the year 2040. So we keep our fingers crossed and let's hope that that the stage of development which will take in 2040 happens beforehand. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, teachers.